My parents tried to force scalp reduction surgery on me at 14 to match my dad's baldness. When I finally opened up, my mom looked me dead in the eye and said, "Every strand beyond your father's density is a slap in his face." I stayed silent. That was 8 months ago. This morning, she saw something on her phone, went completely still, and hasn't eaten since. My father said I wasn't allowed to have more hair than him, and he meant it. My parents required all children to undergo scalp reduction surgery at age 14. They believed children with thick hair were showing off to mock their creators. He'd spent his life consumed by rage about his baldness. He kept a disturbing scrapbook filled with photos of hairy criminals. Each face was marked with a red V for vain, as if hair itself was proof of narcissism. My mother had female pattern baldness and was just as bitter. She constantly ranted about women with long hair stealing everything from her. My parents met at a support group for people with hair loss complexes. They bonded over their shared hatred of anyone with decent scalp coverage. They kept our house at 85 degrees year-round. No hats allowed. They wanted baldness to be the only option. When I was a teenager, they took me to meet Dr. Varga. His office was in a basement beneath a pet grooming salon. He'd lost his veterinary license for experimenting on show dogs, but he still operated on people willing to pay cash for extreme procedures. Dad found him through online forums for balding men. These men wanted to surgically reduce their children's hair. "This is the genius who's going to do your transplant," my dad said. I didn't understand at first. Then they showed me diagrams with red circles marking donor sites on my scalp. "He's an artist. Look how well he did on your sister," Dad added. That's when my blood ran cold. I was young when my sister had her surgery. I didn't remember much, but I'd seen photos of her thick auburn hair that reached her waist. She used to love braiding flowers into it. The person standing in front of me now wasn't that girl. Her scalp was a patchwork of scars where strips had been harvested. She wore a thin wig that barely covered the damage. She scratched constantly at phantom itches where nerves had been severed. My parents celebrated her new, appropriately sparse coverage by burning her old hair accessories. They took family photos where everyone's scalp visibility matched perfectly. They started preparing me next. They made me wear a rubber swimming cap 20 hours a day. This would weaken the follicles. Mom counted my individual hairs obsessively. She grew more agitated as my hairline stayed stubbornly full. She muttered about taking extra grafts, just to be safe. She forced me to lean over steaming water. This would preview my future scalp exposure. "Every strand beyond your father's density is a slap in his face," she said. They presented me with a forged consent form. They wanted me to sign it. It would make it look like I was volunteering for the procedure. When I refused, they started putting hair removal cream in my shampoo. "Just a preview," Mom said, "of what it feels like to be properly bare." I realized I had to sabotage the surgery myself. I started secretly applying minoxidil I'd stolen from a friend's dad. Every night I massaged it into my scalp. I added castor oil and vitamin E. By the surgery date, I'd given myself severe contact dermatitis. My entire scalp was inflamed and infected. That morning, I rubbed poison ivy extract across my head. Welts rose like mountain ranges. At the veterinary clinic, Dr. Varga examined my scalp. He immediately refused to operate. He said cutting through that much inflammation could cause sepsis. The infection could spread to my brain. My parents tried to talk him into it. "We're okay with the risk," they said. He still refused. They dragged me to 3 other underground practitioners. Each said the same thing. The infection was too severe, too risky. They'd have to wait at least 6 months. For a moment, I thought I'd won. But my parents were relentless. They pivoted to what they called alternative follicle management. They forced me to sit under UV lamps for hours. The radiation would naturally thin my density. Mom started secretly mixing testosterone supplements into my food. She wanted to trigger male pattern baldness. They installed industrial hair dryers in every room. They activated automatically when I walked by. I learned to run through the house to minimize exposure. Dad paid my already harvested sister to pluck my hair. She did it strand by strand while I slept. When I started wearing a protective helmet to bed, Dad got creative. He built a scalp stretching device that pulled my skin taut. This would spread out the remaining follicles, but somehow my hair kept growing back thicker. That's when Dad snapped. He came at me with sheep shears. He was aiming to scalp me entirely. Neighbors heard the screaming and called the police. They found the stretching device and the horn